The day I found Maria Rodriguez unconscious on her cell floor, I had exactly 45 seconds to save 2 lives instead of 1. I'm Jessica Torres. I've been a correctional officer at Riverside Prison for 3 years, and in that time I've seen things that would make your stomach turn. But this one still haunts me every single day. Let me take you back to March 15th. It was a Tuesday morning and I was doing my routine rounds in C Block. The smell of disinfectant mixed with instant coffee hung in the air, and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like they always did. Metal doors clanged in the distance, creating that rhythmic prison symphony I'd grown so accustomed to. Morning, Officer Torres. That was Keisha from Cell 12. She was always cheerful, serving 2 years for fraud. A bright smile that didn't quite match the orange jumpsuit. I waved back, my keys jangling against my hip as I walked past her cell. "How you doing today, Keisha?" "Living the dream, Officer T," she laughed, but there was something in her eyes. Something I couldn't quite place. Looking back now, I realized she knew. She knew what I was about to find. Everything seemed normal. But in prison, normal is just the calm before the storm. I've learned that the hard way over 3 years of working these blocks that I was heading toward the shower area when I noticed something odd. Cell 23, Maria Rodriguez's cell, the door was slightly ajar. That wasn't right. Cells were supposed to be locked during morning count. My training kicked in immediately. An open cell door could mean anything. An escape attempt. A fight. Someone hurt. "Maria?" I called out, my hand instinctively moving to my radio. "You okay in there?" No answer. My heart started racing. In 3 years, you develop an instinct for when something's wrong. It's like a sixth sense that screams at you when the air feels different, when the silence is too heavy. And right now, every alarm bell in my head was screaming that I pushed the door open wider, my other hand moving to my belt, ready for anything. And that's when I saw her. Maria was lying on the concrete floor between her bed and the small metal toilet. Her orange jumpsuit was soaked with sweat, her face pale as death, her dark hair plastered to her forehead. But what made my blood run cold wasn't just that she was unconscious. It was the unmistakable swell of her belly under that jumpsuit. How had I not noticed before? "Oh my God," I whispered, dropping to my knees beside her. "Oh my God, she's pregnant." My training kicked in immediately. I pressed 2 fingers to her neck, searching for a pulse. It was there, weak but steady. Her skin was clammy, cold. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. "Maria. Maria, can you hear me?" I tapped her cheek gently, trying to rouse her. Nothing. I grabbed my radio with shaking hands. "This is Officer Torres in C Block, Cell 23. I need medical emergency now. Inmate down, possible pregnancy complication." I repeat, medical emergency. The radio crackled with static, then dispatch came through. "Torres, did you say pregnancy? We have no record of inmate Rodriguez being pregnant." "Are you sure?" "I don't care what the records say." I shouted into the radio, my voice echoing off the concrete walls. "There's a pregnant woman unconscious on the floor. Get medical here now." I heard footsteps running down the corridor. Inmates were pressing their faces against the small windows in their cell doors, trying to see what was happening. The prison grapevine worked faster than any communication system. Maria's eyes fluttered open. They were unfocused at first, rolling back slightly, and then they locked onto mine. In that moment, I saw pure raw terror. Not the fear of being caught or punished. This was primal. The fear of a mother who thinks she's about to lose her child. "Please," she whispered, her hand reaching weakly for mine. Her fingers were ice cold. "Please don't let them take my baby. Please, Officer Torres." My throat tightened. Her grip was weak but desperate. "Maria, how far along are you? When's your due date?" 7 months, she breathed out, her eyes filling with tears. "I've been hiding it for 7 months. I thought I had more time. I thought I could make it." 7 months. This woman had hidden a pregnancy for 7 months in a maximum security prison where privacy doesn't exist. Where you're monitored during showers, during meals, during medical checkups. How was that even possible? The medical team burst through the door. 2 EMTs with a stretcher and Nurse Patterson, who'd worked at Riverside for 15 years and had seen everything this place could throw at her. But even she stopped short when she saw Maria. "Sweet Jesus," Patterson muttered, kneeling beside me on the other side of Maria. She immediately started checking vital signs, her experienced hands moving quickly. "How did we miss this? How did nobody catch this?" "That's exactly what I wanted to know." "BP's low, pulse is rapid and weak," Patterson said to the EMTs. "We need to get her to medical now. This could be preeclampsia, dehydration, or worse." They loaded Maria onto the stretcher with practiced efficiency, but I saw Maria's hand reach out again, grabbing the edge of my uniform. "Don't leave me," she pleaded, tears streaming down her temples into her hair. "Please, Officer Torres. Don't leave me alone." I looked at Patterson, who nodded. "Come with us. We might need your statement anyway." I followed them through the corridors, past cells where inmates watched silently. Some looked shocked, others knowing. Keisha stood at her cell door, her hand pressed against the glass, tears in her eyes. She mouthed something to me that looked like, "I'm sorry." The medical wing of Riverside is small, just 6 beds separated by curtains, mostly used for minor injuries and medication distribution. It wasn't equipped for this. Maria needed a hospital, but protocol required stabilization first. Patterson and the EMTs worked quickly, hooking Maria up to monitors, starting in 4, checking the baby's heartbeat with a portable fetal Doppler. The sound of that rapid heartbeat, like a tiny drum echoing through the room, made everything suddenly very real. "Baby's heartbeat is strong," Patterson announced, and I saw Maria's whole body relax slightly on the bed. "That's good. That's really good, Maria." An hour later, Maria was stable. The color had returned to her face, and the monitors showed both her and the baby were out of immediate danger. Patterson had called for a transfer to County General Hospital for proper prenatal evaluation, but it would take time to arrange transport and security. I was sitting outside the medical bay, filling out an incident report, when Nurse Patterson came out. She looked exhausted, years older than when she'd walked in that morning. "She's stable," Patterson said, sitting down heavily beside me. "Baby too. But Jessica, this is going to be a mess. I've already got 3 calls from administration. Captain Davis is on his way down here. The warden's office is calling. How did this happen? How did we not know?" "That's what I want to find out," I said, standing up and tucking my pen behind my ear. "Can I talk to her? Just for a few minutes?" Patterson studied my face for a moment, then nodded slowly. 5 minutes. She needs rest and we're still monitoring for complications. But yeah, go ahead. Maybe she'll tell you what she won't tell me." I walked into the medical bay. Maria was lying on the bed, hooked up to monitors that beeped softly in the quiet room. And 4 drip fed into her arm. Her hand was resting protectively on her belly, and when she saw me, tears started rolling down her cheeks again. "Officer Torres," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. I didn't know what else to do." I pulled up a plastic chair and sat down beside her bed. "Maria, I'm not here to judge you or write you up. I'm here because I need to understand. I need you to tell me everything. From the beginning. Can you do that?" She closed her eyes, took a shaky breath, and nodded. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible, like she was afraid the walls themselves would hear her confession. "I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after I got here. I was sentenced to 5 years for possession with intent to distribute. But Officer Torres, I swear on everything I love, I didn't know I was pregnant during my trial. I had no idea." "Who's the father?" I asked as gently as I could. Maria's jaw clenched, and for a moment, anger flashed across her face. "My ex-boyfriend Diego. The same one who set me up to take the fall for his drugs. He's walking free right now, probably dealing to someone else, while I'm in here carrying his child." My heart sank. I'd heard variations of this story too many times. Women taking the fall for men they loved or feared. "Did you tell him you're pregnant?" "I tried calling him once in my first week here. He changed his number. Blocked me completely. He doesn't care, Officer Torres. He never did. I was just useful to him until I wasn't." "So why didn't you tell medical?" I asked. "Why hide it? We have protocols for pregnant inmates. You would have received prenatal care, proper nutrition. They would have sent me to county," Maria interrupted, her voice suddenly sharp with fear. She sat up slightly, wincing at the movement. "They would have transferred me to county jail for monitoring during my pregnancy. And I couldn't go there." "Why not?" "County has a maternal health unit. It's actually better equipped than, county is where my sister was killed." The words hung in the air between us like a physical weight. I felt my chest tighten. 3 years ago, Maria continued, her voice breaking. My older sister Carmen. She was arrested for assault, defending herself against her abusive husband, but the cops didn't see it that way. They sent her to county to await trial. She was there for 6 weeks. Maria's hand tightened on her belly, her knuckles going white. Gang violence. They found her in the communal shower. Beaten to death because she wouldn't join, wouldn't play their games, wouldn't bow down. She was 31 years old, Officer Torres. 31, with a 7-year-old daughter. Oh God, Maria, I'm so sorry. I have her daughter now, Maria said, and despite the tears, there was fierce pride in her voice. My niece Sophia. I've been raising her since Carmen died. She's everything to me. And when I found out I was pregnant in here, all I could think about was Carmen. What they did to her. What they could do to me. She looked at me with eyes that had seen too much pain. If I had told medical, they would have transferred me to county. Standard protocol, right? And I heard stories, Officer Torres. Stories about what still happens there. The gang presence, the violence, the guards who look the other way. I couldn't risk it. Sophia already lost her mother. She can't lose me too. And this baby, she pressed both hands to her stomach now, this baby deserves a chance to live. I sat there, holding this woman's desperate gaze, and I felt something crack inside my chest. Because what do you say to that? What do you say to a woman who was so terrified of losing her life and her child that she hid a pregnancy for 7 months, risking everything? How did you manage to hide it? I finally asked, more out of professional necessity than anything else. The showers, the medical checkups, the uniform exchanges? Maria gave a weak, bitter laugh. Baggy jumpsuits. I requested size XXL 2 months in, said I was gaining weight from stress and depression. Medical approved it without question. I bound my stomach with strips of torn sheets when I needed to. It hurt, but it worked. The showers? I went at odd times. Early morning, late evening, when fewer people were around. I kept my back to the cameras, showered quickly. And when I started showing more, I stopped going to communal showers altogether. Told the guards I was having feminine hygiene issues, needed privacy. They let me use the single stall. Medical checkups. I missed as many as I could, said I was feeling fine. And when I had to go, I wore layers, hunched over, complained about stomach problems. The doctor here, she's overworked, sees maybe 40 inmates a day. She didn't look that closely. I shook my head in disbelief. But someone had to know. Someone had to help you. Maria bit her lip, hesitating. Then she nodded slowly. Keisha knew. She figured it out 2 months ago. She was pregnant once, before prison. Lost the baby. She knew the signs. She covered for me, said I had stomach flu when I had morning sickness. Brought me extra food from the commissary when I was too nauseous to eat the cafeteria meals. Anyone else? Maria's eyes darted away from mine. Please, I don't want to get anyone in trouble. Maria, if there are other people involved, they're already in trouble. I need to know who knew about this. A long silence. Then barely a whisper. Officer Martinez. My stomach dropped. What? Officer Martinez. He works the evening shift. He saw me 3 weeks ago coming out of the bathroom. I was having cramps, couldn't hide the pain. He stopped me, asked if I was okay, and I broke down. I told him everything. And he didn't report it? Maria shook her head. He said he understood. He said his sister went through something similar, was terrified during her pregnancy because of a stalker ex-boyfriend. He said he'd keep my secret as long as I stayed safe. He even brought me prenatal vitamins from outside, told me to hide them in my cell. This was bad. This was really, really bad. An officer knowing about a hidden pregnancy and not reporting it could mean termination, possible criminal charges for dereliction of duty. But part of me, a small part, understood why Martinez had made that choice. Maria, is there anything else I need to know? She looked at me for a long moment and I could see her internal struggle. Trust versus self-preservation. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely audible. I'm not the only one. My blood ran cold. What do you mean you're not the only one? There's another inmate. Cell 31. Vanessa Chin. She's about 4 months along. She came to me 6 weeks ago, terrified, asking how I was hiding it. I taught her everything I knew. I stood up so fast the chair scraped loudly against the floor. Maria, are you telling me there are 2 hidden pregnancies in this facility? She nodded, tears streaming down her face again. I know how it sounds. I know you think we're being reckless, putting ourselves in danger. But Officer Torres, you have to understand. Vanessa's story is even worse than mine. Her baby's father is a guard at county. He assaulted her before she was arrested. If she gets transferred there, she'll have to see him every day. She'll be under his control. She'd rather die than go through that. Oh God. We're not trying to cause trouble, Maria pleaded. We're not trying to work the system or get special treatment. We're just trying to survive. We're just trying to protect our babies. That's it. That's all we want. I stood there, my mind spinning. 2 hidden pregnancies. An officer who knew and didn't report. A whole network of inmates covering for each other. Medical staff too overworked to notice. This wasn't just a medical issue anymore. This was systemic failure on every single level. This was years of budget cuts and understaffing and treating inmates like inventory instead of human beings coming home to roost. I need to report this, I said finally. You understand that, right? I can't keep this quiet. I know, Maria whispered. I knew the moment I woke up and saw you. I knew it was over. But Officer Torres, please don't let them send me to county. I'll go to any other facility. I'll accept any consequences. But not county. Please. I looked at this woman lying in a medical bed fighting for 2 lives, and I made a decision that would change everything. I'll do what I can, I said. I promise you, Maria. I'll do everything I can. I walked out of that medical bay and went straight to Captain Davis's office. He was already there waiting for me, his face the color of an overripe tomato. Captain Raymond Davis was 56 years old, had worked in corrections for 30 years, and ruled C-Block with an iron fist wrapped in bureaucratic procedure. But he was also fair and he listened when you made sense. Torres? He said the moment I walked through his door. Sit down and tell me what the hell is going on in my facility. I sat down and told him everything. Every single detail. Maria's story, her sister's death, her fear of county. Officer Martinez's involvement. The network of inmates who'd covered for her. And then the bomb. Sir, there's another one. Vanessa Chin in cell 31. 4 months pregnant. Same situation. Captain Davis's face went from red to purple. He stood up, paced to the window, stared out at the yard where inmates were filing out for morning recreation. For a long moment he said nothing. Torres, he finally said, his voice dangerously quiet. Do you understand what you're telling me? You're saying that under our watch, under MY watch, 2 inmates have been pregnant for months and we had no idea? Do you understand what this means? The lawsuits, the investigations, the media circus. Sir, with all respect, I said, standing up to face him, maybe we need to ask ourselves how this happened. What are these women so afraid of that they'd risk their lives and their babies' lives to hide their pregnancies? That's not your job to question, Officer Torres. Davis slammed his hand on the desk, making his coffee mug jump. Your job is to maintain security and follow protocol, not to philosophize about the emotional states of inmates. And what about compassion? I shot back, surprising myself with my own intensity. Sir, Maria Rodriguez's sister was killed in county. Beaten to death in a shower while guards looked the other way. She was terrified. And now she almost died and her baby almost died because she was too scared to ask for help. Doesn't that tell us something is seriously wrong? It tells me county has problems. It tells us we have problems. I interrupted, something I'd never done before in 3 years. We have problems, Captain. We failed these women. We were so focused on protocol and paperwork that we forgot they're human beings. That they have fears and trauma and reasons for the choices they make. Captain Davis stared at me for a long moment. I thought he was going to write me up, suspend me, maybe even fire me for insubordination. But then something changed in his face. The anger drained away, replaced by exhaustion that he sat down heavily in his chair and suddenly looked very old and very tired. You're right, he said quietly. You're absolutely right. And that kills me to admit, Torres. But you're right. This is on us. This is on me. He rubbed his face with both hands. But Torres, this is going to blow up. The media is going to be all over this. State investigators. The ACLU. Every prison reform group in California. This is going to be a nightmare. Then let's make it count, I said, sitting back down. Let's use this as a catalyst for change. Better prenatal monitoring for all female inmates. Better mental health support. Actual safety protocols for pregnant women that don't involve sending them to facilities with documented violence problems. Real counseling for women who are pregnant in the system. Davis looked at me with something like respect. You've thought about this. I've had an hour to think about nothing else, sir. He nodded slowly. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to write up a detailed incident report. Everything you told me, everything Maria told you. I'm going to initiate a full facility audit. We're going to find Vanessa Chin, confirm her pregnancy, and get her proper care. Officer Martinez is suspended pending investigation. And Torres? Yes, sir? You're going to be the point person on this. You found it, you're going to help fix it. Understood. Yes, sir. And Torres? Maria Rodriguez doesn't go to county. I'll call in every favor I have, but she doesn't go there. Find me an alternative facility with proper maternal care. I don't care if it's in San Diego or San Francisco. Find it. I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Thank you, Captain. Don't thank me yet. We've got a long road ahead of us. The next few days were absolute chaos. State investigators descended on Riverside like locusts. Interviews with every staff member. Audits of medical records. Policy reviews. The media got hold of the story, and suddenly we were on every news channel in California. Prison fails to detect pregnancies, read one headline. Hidden babies behind bars, read another. Vanessa Chen was found and moved to appropriate prenatal care. She was terrified at first, thought she was being sent to county, but when she learned she was going to a secure medical facility in Sacramento, she broke down in tears of relief. Officer Martinez was suspended, then after a week of investigation, terminated. I heard he filed an appeal, claiming he'd acted in the best interest of an inmate's safety. I don't know what happened with that. We don't talk anymore. As for Maria, Captain Davis made good on his promise. She was transferred to a secure medical facility in San Luis Obispo, 2 hours north of Riverside. It had a maternal health unit, proper prenatal monitoring, and most importantly, no history of the kind of violence that plagued County Point. 3 weeks later, on a Thursday afternoon, I got a call on my cell phone. It was a number I didn't recognize. Officer Torres? This is Torres. It's Nurse Patterson. From the medical unit at San Luis Obispo. I'm calling about Maria Rodriguez. My heart stopped. Is she okay? Is the baby? She's fine. They're both fine. That's why I'm calling. She had the baby this morning. A healthy baby girl. 6 pounds, 3 ounces. Perfect little thing. I felt tears spring to my eyes, standing there in the middle of C Block with inmates walking past me to lunch. That's wonderful. What did she name her? Esperanza. It means hope. Hope. Of course it did. She asked me to call you, Patterson continued. She wants you to visit if you can. She said you'd understand why the name matters. Tell her I'll be there this weekend. Will do, Officer Torres. And hey, for what it's worth, you did good. You saved 2 lives that day. I visited Maria that Saturday. The secure medical facility was nothing like Riverside. It was smaller, cleaner, with actual windows that let in natural light. I found Maria in a private room, sitting up in bed with baby Esperanza in her arms, and when she saw me, she smiled. It was a real, genuine smile that reached her eyes. Officer Torres, she said softly, careful not to wake the sleeping baby. Thank you for coming. Thank you for everything. I pulled up a chair and sat beside her bed, and I looked at this tiny baby wrapped in a pink blanket, completely unaware of where she was or what her mother had gone through to protect her. She had a beautiful little face, dark hair, and tiny perfect fingers curled into fists. She's beautiful, Maria. She is, isn't she? Maria gazed down at her daughter with an expression of pure love. I can't believe she's here. I can't believe we made it. What's going to happen now? I asked gently. Maria's smile faded a little, but she didn't look away from Esperanza. My mother is coming to take her tomorrow. And Sophia. They'll be together at least. Mom's not in great health, but she loves these girls. She'll take care of them until I get out. How much time do you have left? 3.5 years with good behavior. I'll miss so much. First steps, first words, first days of school. But they'll be alive and safe. That's what matters. She looked up at me then, tears in her eyes but a smile still on her face. Officer Torres, I need you to know something. What you did, standing up for me, fighting for me, it changed everything. You could have just followed protocol, sent me to county, washed your hands of it. But you didn't. You saw me as a person, not just a prisoner. Anyone would have. No, Maria interrupted firmly. No, they wouldn't have. I've been in the system long enough to know that. Most people would have done their job and nothing more. You did more. You cared. And that made all the difference. I reached out and gently touched Esperanza's tiny hand. She stirred slightly but didn't wake. I'm going to check on you both. When I can. Make sure you're getting what you need. I'd like that. And Maria? When you get out, you look me up. I want to meet Sophia. I want to see these girls together. It's a promise, Officer Torres. It's a promise. I left the medical facility that afternoon feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Real, tangible hope that maybe, just maybe, we could make the system a little more human. The following Monday, I went back to Riverside for a meeting Captain Davis had arranged with the head of medical services, the facility psychologist, and the deputy warden. I walked into that conference room with a folder full of notes and a determination to make real change. All right, Torres, Captain Davis said, gesturing to the seat at the head of the table. You've got the floor. Tell us how we fix this. I took a deep breath and opened my folder. We need mandatory monthly pregnancy tests for all female inmates of childbearing age, I began. Not as punishment, not as invasion of privacy, but as basic health care. The test should be quick, non-invasive, and routine. Make it as normal as a blood pressure check. The head of medical, Dr. Reyes, nodded. We can implement that within a month. Second, we need a comprehensive prenatal protocol that doesn't automatically mean transfer to county. We need partnerships with secure medical facilities that have proven safety records. Places like San Luis Obispo. Give pregnant inmates options based on their individual circumstances and safety concerns. That's going to require budget increases, the deputy warden said. Contracts with multiple facilities, transportation costs. It's cheaper than lawsuits, Captain Davis cut in. Continue, Torres. Third, we need counseling. Real, dedicated counseling for pregnant inmates. Someone they can talk to about their fears, their options, their trauma. Someone who understands what pregnancy in the justice system means. Not just a overworked therapist checking boxes. The facility psychologist, Dr. Chen, leaned forward. I can work with that. We'd need to hire an additional counselor with specialization in maternal mental health, but it's doable. Fourth, I continued, feeling momentum building, we need education. For staff and inmates. Staff needs to understand signs of pregnancy beyond the obvious. We need to create an environment where women feel safe disclosing pregnancy rather than hiding it. And inmates need to know their rights, their options, what resources are available. And fifth, I said, looking directly at Captain Davis, we need to acknowledge what happened here. We need to own our failures publicly and commit to doing better. Not just for PR, but because it's the right thing to do. There was a long moment of silence. Then Captain Davis stood up. All right. Dr. Reyes, you've got 1 month to implement testing protocols. Deputy Warden, work on facility partnerships and budget proposals. Dr. Chin, hire your counselor. Torres, you're heading up the education program development. I want a full plan on my desk in 2 weeks. He looked around the table at each of us. This doesn't leave this room until we're ready to announce it publicly. And when we do, we're going to do it right. Questions? No one spoke. Good. Get to work. That was 6 months ago. Today, Riverside Correctional Facility has a new pregnancy protocol. We conduct monthly health screenings that include pregnancy tests for all women under 45. We have a partnership with 3 different secure medical facilities, including San Luis Obispo, with different security levels and specializations. We have a dedicated maternal health counselor, Dr. Lisa Freeman, who spends 3 days a week at Riverside. And most importantly, we've had 0 hidden pregnancies since March 15th. We've identified 4 pregnant inmates in the last 6 months, all of whom received immediate, compassionate care and were moved to appropriate facilities based on their individual needs and safety concerns. Maria Rodriguez was released 2 weeks ago for exemplary behavior. I got a text from an unknown number last Saturday. It was a photo. Maria was sitting on a porch somewhere sunny, with Sofia on one side and little Esperanza on the other. Both girls were smiling at the camera. The message below the photo read, "Thank you for giving us our mother back. Love, Sofia and Esperanza." I cried when I saw that photo. Right there in the middle of the grocery store, I cried. Officer Martinez got his job back after an internal investigation determined he'd made a judgment call based on legitimate safety concerns for an inmate. He's working at a minimum security facility now in a different county. We exchanged emails once. He told me he doesn't regret what he did, and neither do I. As for Keisha, she got released last month. She sent me a letter thanking me for doing the right thing when it mattered. She's working at a women's shelter now, helping other women who've been through the system. It suits her. And me? I learned something important that day I found Maria on that cell floor. Something that's changed how I do this job every single day since. Sometimes the rules aren't enough. Sometimes compassion has to be part of the equation. Sometimes being a good correctional officer means seeing the human being behind the orange jumpsuit. Because at the end of the day, these women aren't just inmates. They're not just case numbers or security risks. They're mothers. They're daughters. They're sisters. They're human beings who made mistakes, yes, but who still deserve dignity, safety, and a chance at redemption. And sometimes being a good officer means questioning the system you work for. Not to tear it down, but to make it better. To make it more human. To make it more just. Because if we can't do that, if we can't see the humanity in the people we're supposed to supervise and protect, then what's the point? What are we really doing here? Maria told me something before she left Riverside for the last time. She was in processing, getting her civilian clothes back, signing release papers. I walked her out personally, something I rarely do. At the gate, she turned to me and said, "Officer Torres, you saved 2 lives that day. But you also saved something else. You saved my faith in humanity. You reminded me that there are still people who care, who fight for what's right even when it's hard. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for seeing all of us. And you know what? That's why I keep doing this job. Not for the authority, not for the uniform, not for the paycheck that barely covers my rent. But for those moments. The moments when I can look at someone like Maria and say, I see you. You matter. Your story matters. If this story touched you, if it made you think differently about pregnant women in our justice system, about the people behind bars who we so often forget are human, hit that like button and subscribe. Because these stories need to be heard. These voices need to be amplified. These changes need to keep happening. I'm Jessica Torres, and I'll be sharing more stories from C Block and beyond. Stories that will challenge you, move you, inspire you, and maybe even change the way you see the world and the systems we live in. In my next video, I'll tell you about the day I discovered an inmate was actually innocent and had been sitting in prison for 7 years for a crime she didn't commit. The evidence I found hidden in an old file box that should have been destroyed will shock you. And what happened next will restore your faith in justice. Don't miss it. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and remember, everyone has a story. Everyone deserves to be heard. Everyone deserves a chance.